right, so on behalf of the National Forum for Black Public Administrators, Greater Houston Chapter.
Well, I'm gonna give you the straight skinny, okay? So, it all started when Judge K.P. George, who is still the Fort Bend County Judge, when Judge K.P. George was indicted on misdemeanor count that morphed into a felony count, 2 felony counts, and he was tried and found guilty. During the process, there was a civil complaint against him. Someone felt that their First Amendment rights were abridged, and they filed a lawsuit. And it was a civil lawsuit in September of last year. It sat there, you know, all through the winter and through the trial and everything, and no action was on it. When Judge George was convicted, he elected to have the judge sentence him and not a jury. And that judge set that sentencing to June 16th. That date is important, June 16th. Somehow or another, the civil complaint all of a sudden had life, and a visiting judge was appointed to hear that case. He didn't hear the case, he just took some action. One action he took was to suspend K.P. George from office and appoint the Republican nominee for that position, Daniel Wong, to as the interim county judge until this matter was resolved, until he resolved this matter later on. And so June 16th, when Judge George was sentenced, you know, it was the general belief that his being sentenced and being subsequently removed from office created a vacancy, and that by law, a vacancy on Commissioner's Court is filled by the Commissioner's Court. Well, that didn't happen. That judge, the trial judge, removed him from office, but suspended him without pay, pending his appeal. So that was another thing that was sort of uncertain. On June 17th, the day after he was sentenced, the plaintiff in the civil case non-suited it, withdrew the lawsuit. And so all actions pertaining to that, all interlocutory actions pertaining to that suit should have gone away. And they did go away in the minds of everybody. And that question has not been answered. The judge in that case refused to clarify his motion, and the county attorney, if I say something out of line, just kick me in. Okay.
You're not a party to my case.
Okay. Filed an action called quo warranto that makes him prove that he should be in this position. Both of those judges have kicked the can down the road, if you would, and set dates well past the election. Okay, and so that's kind of where we are right now. I maintain, and I'm speaking for myself, that the current interim county judge doesn't have the legal authority to be there. And so every action that is taken by the Commissioner's Court where he's involved with is subject to be challenged and overturned, and it could create a calamity for the county. I chose to make a statement.
Their operations for the next fiscal year. And that's everything from supplies to money for training, employees, raises, all of the things. So we submit that back in February. Then we have a process of kind of having the budget team to review it, the commissioners to review it. There are budget hearings that are open to the public for everyone to come and watch and observe and get information about how much each elected official in the department head is requesting for the county operations. And we did that. On July 15th, I received my proposed budget from the budget director, Pam Goebbels. She sent out an email to all of us, department heads, elected officials, etc., telling us this is your preliminary budget as approved by the budget office and with some preliminary approvals from the Commissioner's Court. I received it, no changes. We requested some, I'll say no material changes, right? No material changes. All my employees were intact. We requested a few additional employees, but we didn't get it. Got it, that's fine. We moved forward. On Friday at about 3:00 p.m., my first assistant calls me frantic because on the Commissioner's Court agenda for tomorrow, item 30B is to take all appropriate action. Matter of fact, I'm just gonna read it to y'all. Because I think, in reading it, it gives you some context of how broad this is, and how much damage it could do to my office. Okay, the action, now I gotta put my glasses on, please excuse me. The action says, take all appropriate action for fiscal year 2027 to establish a legal department, civil division in the county, civil division under the authority and direction of the Commissioner's Court to provide non-litigation civil legal services and support to the Fort Bend County. Transfer attorneys and support staff positions and associate funding, resources, and authorize all necessary budgetary, personnel, administrative, and operational action to implement the same, subject to applicable law. This action contemplates taking my lawyers, taking my support staff, taking everything, and leaving me in the office powerless. I was not consulted. I reached out. I did not get any answers, and as it stands tomorrow, there is a vote to basically make the county attorney, who you all voted, powerless. I have no idea of how many employees this could be. They say only civil litigation, but think about it. For me, I have 42 employees. That could mean I lose 30. And when they say fiscal year October 1, that's not when all of that's gonna start. When they say take all appropriate action, that means go. The budget director does whatever they tell her to do, so that, and the HR director now, she's fired, the person who's appointed works for Mr. Wong, so that means they can do whatever they want, if it's approved. So today we had a hearing, and I actually subpoenaed two of these awesome men sitting next to me because I applied for a temporary restraining order and a declaratory judgment regarding the authority of our office. The overall DEC action we didn't take up today, but the request for it was for a temporary restraining order to stop this action from being contemplated tomorrow. Because once that occurs, number one, the usurpation of my authority is already done. Then there's a movement that I have no control over. And so this is a serious consequence, because what I do recognize, and from the statements that have been published by at least Mr. Everly, who works in Mr. Wong's office, that they believe I've politicized my office, and this is the way to control it and bring it under their authority. And that's I'm roughly summarizing that. Well, any actions that I've taken have been according to the law, and I'm not going to speak on the quo warranto action. You all can read it for yourself, but it is law. It is factually based, and it is a legitimate proceeding that's still pending. Nothing that we've done has been out of political retaliation. I think I've told, at least me and my lawyers have told you guys no on some things, and we've told other officers who were Republicans no on some things. We practice the law. And just because you don't like the advice or you disagree with it doesn't mean, number one, that it's political, and number two, that you get to shop around and find another lawyer. The people put me here twice. And so I have the right to occupy this space until you all decide otherwise. And the action tomorrow, in my opinion, strips you of your vote. And it says, it doesn't matter what y'all say, we're gonna do something different down here at 401 Jackson because we don't like her. That's essentially what's going on tomorrow.
What we see happening today in Fort Bend County, not only is it absolutely disgusting and reprehensible, it is absolute political retribution. It has nothing to do with doing good work on behalf of the hardworking people in this community. It has nothing to do with making government more efficient, because the item that we just spent 3 or 4 hours today in court litigating sure the hell is not going to make Fort Bend County a more efficient county, because how do you say that she's going to have to defend something that you have gotten an opposing opinion on? Make that make sense. But what we see today is because when we don't fall in line, when we don't affirm what they want us to believe, they're showing us that the consequences will be they will come after us. There's active conversations right now about removing me and this other black man from office right now because we dare say we're not going to participate in potentially illegal proceedings. We will not violate our oath and we will not break the law. They're coming to completely gut, and as our county attorney said, make her completely useless by taking almost all of the functions of her office. And if you are the average resident watching this, I don't know how I can sit here and instill in you a level of confidence that the budget that is going to pass next month will reflect your priorities. I can't make that assertion because I'm powerless to do a damn thing about it. But here's what gives me hope, is that we've been through these sorts of trials before. Fort Bend County, unfortunately, has a history when it comes to this sort of retaliation. After the ending of slavery, as we were going through Reconstruction, Fort Bend elected a slew of black elected officials. The first black sheriff in the entire country, the first black state representative in the state of Texas. You had administrators who came from the population that made up a majority of the residents in this community. And what was the response? The Jay Bird Woodpecker War, where black elected officials and all of their supporters were violently thrown out of this county. What we're seeing today, it's no different than that. They're just different players who are sitting at the table. And so what gives me hope is that we made it through that. And we see where we are today with folks from a diverse array of communities representing this diverse community. And I believe that we have real strong power so long as we activate that to fight back against it. That's why it's important that people show up to the ballot box. That's why it's important when these things are coming up that they don't get to happen in the dark of night, but we shine a light on it, show up and make them stare us in the face while they try to take these egregious actions. That's why showing up and speaking at Commissioner's Court is so valuable and important. We see what's happening to our new mayor in Pearland right now, where they're taking all of his power because how dare he show up to come and serve, and how dare you elect him? What we know is that we see the other side that sees themselves losing power and losing ground. And while I can understand their perspective, what I cannot respect is their action. Because what they're saying is that they know better than you. What they're saying is that they know best, and they don't care what the law says. They're going to do what they want to do. And imagine if we behave that way. We would be up under the jail, as my mom would often say, if we dare try even half of what they're doing today. And so we'll continue to fight back. We'll continue to do everything that we can in our power to stop what's happening. But we also need you to do your part as well.
Danny, I thought you were my friend. Now, all I would say is just Google my name. You want to know how this has worked out for me? It's nothing new. And what I would say is these attitudes have been ever present. This is not new. J. Edgar Hoover started this character assassination with Dr. King. This is a tried and true tactic against black leaders. The difference is the power struggle. That's what we have right now. It's plain and simple power struggle from the national level down to the local level. That changed when KP George was elected. I mean, when he was not when he was elected, but when he was convicted. So the power balance changed because he switched parties, and that ignited what you see right now. And so what we see is, one speaker talked about retribution. You know, that's where we are right now in this country. People are at each other's throats. For me, I see Ron sitting back there. This is nothing new for me. I've been fighting this since I was elected. Ron was with me in hearings where they were plotting to remove DAs. So this is not new for me. This has been my whole tenure to be under attack. And, you know, when I followed the law, all of a sudden, I became the devil. And I spent some 15 months every morning getting up and watching my name be smeared every day and not being able to say anything back because I had to follow the rules of ethics while the other side didn't. So that's what it's been for me. But I would just say, hey, look, this is not new. Every time there's an election, I call it political silly season. People lose their minds, they lose their ethics, and you really find out who your real friends are. And what we're finding out in our community, we're finding out not who your friends are, just that. You find out who are true Christians, who are true believers, because all hell is coming out of these people, just evil actions. And so I'm a little bit relieved because the curtain's been pulled back for me and I know who I'm dealing with. So on that side, it's been strengthening because I feel like I've been through a lot. I think it's made me smarter and it's made me stronger. But just like Bridget, I'm not going anywhere without a fight. We got a fight on our hands. And what I got to say about what everyone has said is that the law is pretty clear, right? But lately we have not been able to rely on the courts to follow the law. And that's from the national level on down. And so what we used to have as refuge is no longer available. If the law had been applied and people would have done what was prudent, we would be having this discussion right now. But right now, what has been ruling the day in Fort Bend County is pure and simple politics. It is a pure and simple, I won't say simple, but it's a pure power struggle. And so we're seeing a lot of ugliness, a lot of toxicity that I think will be over in November. But we have to endure it. And, you know, my only hope is that people are alert and are paying attention and understand that this is not a test run, okay? This election will have real consequences that will affect everyone in this room. And if anybody you know decides to stay home, they're contributing to your misfortune.